Welcome to our weekly reading where we explore all things astrological. We hope you're doing really well and staying safe out there. From our two different points of view in two different locations in the world, we bring to you a unique astrological perspective on what is happening right now across the globe. So here we go. Hi everybody, this is Diana in LA and Cary in the UK, and we're coming to you with this week's astrological forecast. What a week it's been. So many things have been happening again, and it's revving up. Last week, we had a few days where there was a little bit of a lighter heart, and we talked about that. And as we've been coming in through this week things are revving, ramping up, all because of Mars and the full moon that's coming. So we're all sort of getting ready to prepare for this week that will be challenging in some ways. So Cary, I'm going to let you start with this.
This is going to be quite an interesting week, quite an important week. After last week, it ended up with Mercury trining Saturn, which was the start of some very serious communication, which we all got with regards to relieving up lockdown. However, a lot of the messages are mixed and people are feeling quite apprehensive, and astrologically that can be explained as Mars gets nearer to Neptune. And as it gets nearer to Neptune and gets aspected by other planets in a negative way, it's going to be proving quite challenging. So that is the kind of feel for the week with Mars and Neptune, and as the week culminates, it'll end up with the full moon creating a very powerful aspect with Mars and Neptune and the Sun conjunct Venus. So you've got those 5 planets together. It could be a very, very important week, and people are very nervous about going forward because of all the mixed messages. So I think it's going to be a very interesting week. What I think is the aspects that are happening at the moment are very powerful, and people need to trust their own intuition and test their own understanding and be very careful what they react to on social media, on what they think, how they feel. You know, they may feel very strange, but it's not going to happen forever. There's a lot of apprehension around. So this is the week where we concentrate on energy. Very energizing week. We're all going outside. We're all going meeting people now. The government are telling us it's safe. Establishments are opening. But the messages being mixed cause great apprehension, and that is part of the feel of this week.
I think it's really important right now with this Neptune confusion to practice discernment between what informations we're getting to figure out what is actually true and what is true for me. Like you were saying, trust our intuition. It is really important because everything's being tested right now. Everything is being kind of thrown on the table at the same time. So people are walking into the world with some trepidation, some carefulness, and there's some tension, obviously, in the air of dissent. Full-on dissent. And as the week goes on and the full moon is happening, because the full moon amplifies everything, when that full moon energy starts to amplify those hot spots that are already hot happening on the planet, there can be arguments, there can be fighting, there can be dissent.
I think that people do need to trust their intuition. There's a lot of pressure for people to do things that they don't want to do. And this conjunction of Mars and Neptune is going to last for quite a while. So it's very important for people to think about what's important for them and take all the information, look around from all these different areas, simulate it for yourself. But don't make a quick reaction. Think about it. Think very deeply about what you're doing, how you're conducting yourself. And worldwide, it's also about thinking about the environment. So we need to think about that too. And all this is interrelated. The COVID, the environment, people's feelings, coming out of lockdown, a bit of freedom. And in the UK, there's been lots of activity and lots of freedom and too much. So part of the UK are thinking, well, it's okay to go out in big groups and stuff, although that's not the government's advice. And the other part of the UK, they're all staying at home, they're all doing the right thing. So there's confusion and there's mixed messages and people are anxious.
And like everything these days, there's polarization. So on one hand, people are saying this is all a hoax and don't even wear a mask. And then the others are afraid of anyone that's even near them, and they jump away for fear of getting sick, And so there's this very reactive energy going on. And somewhere in the middle, of course, like always, is the truth. And that's where we have to use our intuition. And so as things get hotter, as the week goes on, we even more need to practice that discernment to be able to feel what's actually true.
This is going to be a very important week for anybody born in the first week of June, and a very important week for the whole of the world as they acclimatise to this new way of living.
Right. And all the ramifications of in our government, in our financial worlds, that the whole world's going to look a little bit different as we move forward now. The good thing that's happening is Sun is conjunct Venus and will be all this week. So it's funny, there's all this contrasting energy of sort of feeling free and feeling good and feeling happy, and then this dissent. And I think that's part of the problem as these two worlds sort of collide. Of, I want to be free and let's have a good time and let's, talk about love. And then meanwhile, there's these undercurrents that are not so under anymore. They're starting to become overcurrents, right? Of real antagonized energy, problems. We are having it in America so much with George Floyd and all of what has been happening with the killing of this innocent man. In public, everybody saw it, and this is going to be very controversial, and there's rioting happening in America in several cities right now.
And that is a real good indication of the Mars conjunct Neptune squaring the Sun conjunct Venus and the effects of that. And what you're talking about, which is an awful event,
Yes.
is causing, again, apprehension. So when Neptune's involved, there's a lot of apprehension, and especially when you've got aspects that are happening like they are at the moment, these squares to the Sun conjunct Venus. In one way, the Sun, you were saying that the Sun conjunct Venus is a lovely aspect, but then you've got this other thing going on. But when you look at it from a personal point of view, it means one thing. It's about your own experience. But when you look at it from a worldwide point of view, these are very powerful times at the moment. There's some incredible stuff going on.
Because Sun conjunct Venus retrograde means we're reviewing all of our ideals as a world. What do we believe in? What is love? What is kindness? What is compassion? And these subjects are up because what do I get or what do we get are very different answers. And I think that it's retrograde brings in this aspect of review of the ideals of our world and of humanity.
And then it culminates on Friday with this full moon. And the full moon, this will be a very powerful full moon. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in both our countries and the rest of the world on Friday, see what kind of news comes out, what kind of decisions are made, because this is going to be a very big day.
And I'm feeling that there's going to be decisions being made that are going to be controversial and inciting in some ways, as has been occurring, but even more so. So batten down your hatches, right? Get ready for this full moon energy that's coming. Remember, we have more power than we believe we do sometimes. And a lot of it has to do with intention. And so when we intentionally hold for the greater good, which is what we're trying to do right now, we're trying to hold for the greater good, for the good of all. This full moon energy, you can start to orchestrate with it to help a better outcome than no matter what the stars say, right? Because we are able to work with those energies, their frequencies, right? And so we can actually align up with them or not line up with them, be used by them or use them, right? And start to create a better world. Sometimes things have to get worse to get better, and that is truth. And we call it in the healing professions a healing crisis. And there's some of this energy that's happening. This year is very challenging and really will be this whole year. And we'll have moments of real awareness and inspiration and change and growth, of course. But change, and nobody likes change that much. They want it, but they don't want it, right? And so as we're starting to make all these changes, and there's much more to come, we're often in reaction to those changes. And so this is a good thing, but it is difficult because change will occur, is occurring.
What's making all this change happen is the transit of Uranus. And as it moves on, it's going to start trining Pluto, and it's going to start setting itself off against a lot of the other planets. It's in a fixed sign. It's about structure. So all the structures that we've been used to are going to be changed in the most incredible way. We've just got to be careful as the human race to take these changes and make them right for you. Because it is going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge for the next year and a half. But it's all because of the transit of Uranus. And while Uranus remains in Taurus, it's going to affect the world hugely. Did the last time, it's doing it this time in a completely different way.
Right, and for yourself, it's true, for us, we have to manage this, and for each other, because we've got to all get this together, right? All of us have to can benefit from this, or all of us are going down. And so to me, it's like, how do we use these energies that are happening this year, that have been happening since the end of last year? So we're still working with this very difficult transit of Uranus, with the conjunction of Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all together in a little package that are, sort of sending grenades into the life. And all of that is continuing all the way to the end of the year. So it should be very interesting, like how we manage that, what we do with it, because everything potentially is an opportunity, everything, right? To grow, to change, and to live better and love better and grow together. Or we can use it to demolish ourselves. And to me, that's always the choice in a life, in our personal horoscopes or in the world's astrology. Do we grow up, or do we fall down? And some of it is we have to fall. There's this wonderful Zen saying that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Right? And so and what that means, it's about learning. Like, yes, we fall, but we also get back up again better than we were before. And to me, that's what's trying to happen here. But it's a long, long transit we're talking about here. So that's why they're so powerful, because they're so long lasting. So as we're moving through this, we have to keep a positive spirit to it, even though it might be challenging.
It's interesting that you say that. And you're focusing on Capricorn and the stellium that recently took place in Capricorn. The last time, when I think of Capricorn, the last time that there was a major conjunction in Capricorn was around 1989, when Saturn, Neptune and Uranus were conjunct. That's when the Berlin Wall came down. And it's very similar to what's happening at this time, because it's breaking down the structure. East and West Germany united, and that wall came down. That wall which had been there for many years, and the symbolism of what it meant. Now, we've had another stellium in Capricorn, and we've had COVID. And that's breaking down society as well in a different kind of way. So to me, there's a natural connection between these stelliums in Capricorn, which kind of defines what that means, because it's really about fixture, it's about structure, it's about having a base. And it means more when I think about it, what happened then, and relating it to what happened now. In my head, it's very, very similar.
To me, it's all what we do with it as consciousness. As a group consciousness, we can lift it up or we can let it weigh us down. And so the Berlin Wall is a great example of something beautiful happening out of those difficult aspects.
That's right.
And structures that we count on and believe in and have been there for such a long time, having to change, to me, I would say getting to change, to modernize, to come catching up with the speed of things now. It's a good thing for us to let these structures reorganize. And some of them will not be there at the end of this. And some will develop because of this.
We're coming into a very different world, but we're just opening the door. We haven't stepped through yet. Things are breaking down so we can build them up again. We need strong leadership. We need truthful communication. And truthful communication is what it's about at this moment when you've got these challenging aspects happening to Neptune.
So that's right. And for us, truthful communications with ourselves. Because always the opportunity is for us to learn ourselves better too. And so it's so beautiful, astrology in that way, that sort of the macro and the micro of it. It applies to me and my life right here, right now, and it applies to all of us at the same time. And that's what you and I, are working on, blending these two worlds of the way we're viewing astrology, from the personal to the human, or humanity, and humanity's growth. And our growth.
We're trying to do something a little bit different, and make people aware and try to make astrology as simple as possible using the events of our times.
Right, and simple, but not even so much simple as much as usable, practical. How do you use the aspects in the sky for your everyday life? How do we use the aspects in the sky for our world's growing? And that's what we're bringing to you. So we're so happy that you have joined us on our weekly Astrology World, and we'll see you next week. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.
Have a nice week, everybody.